Arts admins and arts marketers, welcome to This Month in Arts Marketing. I'm Lynette I'm the CEO of Confluence Art Solutions, and with me I have Megan Wirtz, who is a senior consultant with us. We're just going to talk to you today about some of the trends that we're seeing in arts marketing, shifts in the industry, and what you can do to plan ahead and work more efficiently so life doesn't suck. I think we should talk about like what's on our mind because it's November, but before all the holidays start taking over.
Yes, distracting and
yeah. Yeah. So what do you have on what's top of mind for Megan right now?
For Megan, it is a little bit about pivoting our communication strategies based on what we've been hearing and learning and seeing lately. I think it says a little bit more about my worldview than anything. I have been surprised to learn recently that audiences are a little more outwardly focused as of late. They are a little bit less motivated by discounts, which help them, their benefits from things. They're a little more interested in hearing about how they can become a part of a community, how the things that they support, how they function and what their missions are and what they strive to be, and how their support of that can be a translation of that. And so it's going to be interesting to flip messaging from individual benefits to community focused and very holistic and very helpful in worldview and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, same. That's same for me, actually. So I went to Capacity Interactive the boot camp arts marketing, whatever it's called, a couple weeks ago. And that was what they talked about a lot too. And so for me, same thing as I'm trying to adjust strategies in my head with how arts organizations can align their mission and their copy. Some of them already, but like really leaning into the fact that they're a mission-driven organization, and how will that align with their audiences and how audiences perceive them. And that actually came up was a lot of people don't realize, I think it was like 38% in one of the presentations that they did, 38% of people don't recognize that arts organizations are nonprofit. So they don't, yeah, it's a high number. Yeah. So I thought it was interesting that that is what the number was. I mean, it honestly wasn't as surprising. It was like a little bit more than I thought it would be, but it wasn't surprising. But I do think that that just shows even more that people should be leaning into their mission statement and talking about their mission statement.
Yeah, because I wouldn't think that mission statements are misaligned with what people are looking for. As nonprofit arts organizations, missions and visions tend to be very aligned with those kind of external community focused betterment holistic things that these people audiences might be looking for. It's about, like you said, the copy, marrying the copy and the communication of those things with that great base that they already have.
Yeah I thought that's top of mind for me because I'm going back through like everything that we're doing recently and everything that a lot of the people we work with are doing, and making sure that it's aligning well. So, and that people, I mean, when you say they're more outward looking, they are, but they also still want to build memories and have that sense of belonging. So how do we do like all of the above? It's mission aligned. They feel like they belong, and they're nonprofits. We're talking about the fact they're nonprofit, and helping their community.
The great thing is we're seeing too, people are willing to try new things recently. They're not only going back to the one theater company that they've been going to. They're trying different art forms. They're trying out different organizations, or if they've never really been in arts consumer, they're starting to test out the waters a little bit.
Which is fantastic. And I mean, especially if you have a good new to file system or a new like a new ticket buyer system to try and get those people back, because it's 3 times. So 3 times, once you get them back 3 times, then they're much more likely to be a long-term ticket buyer for you. So I think it's an opportunity, a big opportunity for people, right?
And a big project too, having to come up with a strategy ahead of time, then be excited about the fact that you'll have new people in the audience. Don't get overly excited that everybody is constantly new, because that means they're not coming back.
Yeah.
You want to bring in those new people and then capture them. So how are you getting their information? How are you welcoming them back? How are you thanking them? How are you acknowledging the fact that they are now part of your community?
And they might not have the knowledge base that maybe a long-time subscriber or a multi-ticket buyer might have. So when you're talking through things, and actually now that we say that, I think back, we keep saying copy. Does everybody know what we mean when we say the word copy? And the language and the stuff that everybody is using, and FYI, copy, we mean the words, the content that you're putting alongside your ads. So the written part. But yeah. So what are you seeing anything new? I mean, I know, like, I'm seeing some new things in social. Are you seeing anything new in social media advertising this month?
From the advertising standpoint, yes. And it goes hand in hand with your social media page. Obviously, we've always been big proponents of, if you are making incredible social media content, you don't have to make separate ad content. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Make incredible content, use it as your ads, push it out. And if you were using your highest performing organic content, it should also translate to high performing ads. And with that comes the fact that all social media platforms are changing so rapidly and changing their algorithms and trying to get, like, push their agenda, sounds aggressive, but like push their agenda of what they want to prioritize at that moment. And so diversifying your content is huge right now, especially with the onset of so many, whether it's AI or like automatic assistant things, with especially meta ads that I work with. They are looking to prioritize ads that utilize those tools. So even if your ads are doing well in the manual settings that you're used to running, now that the AI tools are available, they want you to use those, and they are going to prioritize ads that take advantage of those. With that comes the challenge of needing a ton more content, because what those tools are going to do is say, for when Lynette gets this ad, we think that this user would respond best to this order of the carousel photos and this caption. But in order for it to do that job well, you need to give it 5 captions and 5 photos, or 5 different pieces of content that it will decide which is best put together for this user. So your work could potentially, is quadruple 5, or is quadruple is 4?
Quadruple is 4. I thought you were saying quadruple of 5.
Oh no.
Yeah, quadruple is 4.
Quadruple is 4. So whatever times 5 is.
Well, it's quintuplets, so
That's what I was thinking, like quint something. But you're gonna have to shift your work a little bit and start to, instead of just create one caption that perfectly works with one photo, you're gonna have to create multiple captions that can apply with any of the media that you're uploading. So that way any combination still makes sense. Because the AI is smart, but we're also seeing it's not perfectly smart. And I've said it before, if you're using AI, human intervention is necessary.
It's totally necessary.
Because what did you see on that one ad?
Her head was getting cut off on all the images, and it was an accepted size, like the uploaded accepted sizes. But then when it got served, we looked at it and we were like, oh, her head was cut off in like 4 of the 5 images. So I mean, it got adjusted and now her head's not cut off, but yeah, it didn't know. that much. So, but there's been a lot with AI. I mean, I think speaking of changing rapidly, AI is changing so rapidly.
It's what's making everything change so rapidly.
Everything change. And I think that people that haven't embraced it yet need to, it's time to start learning before you get left behind. Not that anybody needs anything else to put on their list, but you absolutely need to prioritize putting some knowledge of AI on your list. Honestly, it can make your life so much easier, especially if you have to come up with 5 different versions of copy now. That can be a tool, and yes, it needs human intervention, and you can't just take it for what it spits out, but it can be such a great starting point. But it's going to change the way that we work.
Oh yes, it already is. And
it already is
early.
Yeah.
So I have been seeing a lot of emails that are offering webinars and virtual presentations on AI and advertising. And I don't know if all of them are specific enough to the budget and staff and time restraints of a small nonprofit arts organization that we know struggles with those kind of things, but at least it's a introduction and gives you a general understanding. And so I think the resources are out there to really start to embrace these things a little bit more.
I think so too. There's a lot of free resources. I know Neil Patel puts a lot out and it's free. And I always find his stuff pretty insightful too. And at boot camp, they did one, Christopher Williams did like a 2-hour AI session where they
necessary, but that's long.
long. But they had like 3 different people talk to AI and just some of the ways that they're utilizing it. And I found it super interesting and actually inspiring. So instead of it feeling scary, it felt like this is going to help make my job easier and make everybody's jobs easier. And so I think he was the one that put up the stat that I think it was a LinkedIn study that I think it was like 67% or 68%. It was somewhere above, 60% of your job will shift by 2030. Like it was incredibly.
I need to start making notes of where I get any of the half thought through stats in my brain, because I also saw a summary of a report that said that like 93, I'm making up these numbers, but I know they were high numbers, like 93% of marketers think that AI will be changing our jobs.
Yes.
I'm not surprised by that very high percentage. And then it was something like 60 something percent also thought that if you do not embrace AI and you do not work it into your systems, you will get left behind. You will be replaced by people who have learned how to use AI. And I do not disagree. I would consider myself part of that high majority percentage.
Me too. And I'm sorry we're not giving actual accurate stats. I will find them and link them in the description below.
We're learning as we do this. So now we know we like stats and we need to make sure that we have accurate stats to give.
Swallow a hair. Okay. All right. So what else is going on that you can think? I mean, it's kind of getting close to fundraising, end of the year ask. Is there anything there or?
Yeah, that has started coming up. We always love to push planning in advance. Yep. Don't wait to look at the calendar, like rip off the new week, notice that it's Giving Tuesday and be like, oh gosh, we never did this. Become aware of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday, holiday asks, end of the year asks, they're coming up. Work them into your schedule as something to work on.
I'm going to challenge that even more and say you should be working on next year's fundraising schedule already. So you have an idea of all the different campaigns you're going to run. Again, same thing with season. Planning is so key. And I know we say it every single time, but we see difference. We see major differences in results for people that plan ahead and run ads and content that is well thought out, not only in their sales, but in the sense of relief that comes on the staff
Mhm.
In that, but most especially in their sales. So right now,
Or donations in these cases
or
too.
and donations, yeah, that well thought out is typically better executed and better received. So
In a perfect world, if our love for planning can be translated to everybody, you would be working on next year already. But if we can get you to start planning ahead on this chunk of the year, which then frees you up in the next 2 months before the calendar flips to focus on next year's, then you get in the groove of being ahead of things. Because one of my favorite parts about these fundraising asks is that it's not always just about the letter that goes out. It's about, and it's even more important now, having your mission be known in your community. So when people get a letter, they have seen you come up in front of them multiple times, whether it's ads, social media, emails, appearances, any of the things.
And the impact that when you do it that way, you can show the impact visually, because you know that you're going to do a campaign, at the end of the season. So you're capturing all the videos and the audience testimonials and the donor testimonials and the community, like showing the engagement in the community that you're doing. So all of that lives and is able to be pushed out at different times to support either, a development and fundraising ask. So, yeah.
And that makes me think about the variety of content always then too, is that kind of stuff should be going out, depending on your budget, year round.
Yeah.
To assist in rather just selling one ticket to one show, people becoming fans of what your organization stands for. They're ready when you start to sell subscriptions next year. They're ready when you ask for donations the following year because now they've become a subscriber, and it's the building rather than just frantically trying to sell that one ticket.
Yes. And actually you said this kind of at the beginning, but especially the younger generations, they're very much supportive of the arts organizations, and the data is showing that they want to support the organizations both financially and through attendance if they can.
With the fundraising pushes, we've also been seeing the fear in some organizations that large donors are changing their behavior as well. Yeah. We're seeing some corporate donations that are being lowered or pulled, and it's kind of affecting other large donors. But we're also seeing some hints and trends about smaller donations becoming more popular.
And monthly donations. I mean, I think that's a good resource for people. If they don't have a lot of money to give at once, they can do like micro donations every month and just kind of build it into their monthly budget. And then it feels a lot less overwhelming, but they still feel like they belong to your organization and they're helping support your organization. We are seeing a lot of people using their subscriptions as what they're doing it because they feel like they're supporting the organization, which I think is fantastic. I hope they're going to see the shows. So some of the stats are showing that they're not all going to see the shows, or they're not all attending the events. And I would love to see both, but the younger generation especially has been so much more supportive about building bases in their community. So not of course my generation, Gen X, and all of us above are still of course being very supportive, but I think, and as a testament to what you said earlier, Gen Z and the millennials are very, very
philanthropic. That's the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so trying to capture that in a way that works for them. I am of the age where I will get up on my soapbox and do a little speech of like, we have no money, like everything is so expensive, we can't break out of our systems kind of thing. But a lot of people do want to support. And so with us, a lot of people our age not feeling like we have excess funds to give a large donation, it does feel more achievable to do something like a monthly support. And also for arts organizations, how nice to have like this consistent flow coming into you. I know the big check is fun. That is fun. You can't deny that. But
Yeah.
a consistent flow could also be very nice if you get yourself to set up those systems.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like diversifying your audience, like the audience in the seats. It's the same thing. You want to diversify your donor base as well. So yes, the big gifts are key to growth and sustainability, but so are the small ones, and making sure that, you have that. So,
And it makes me think too that if orgs across the nation are seeing that people are subscribing and then not attending, and if they're hearing that the reason for that is they want to support by buying a subscription, even if they're not interested in coming to a show, it makes me think that their donation systems, either online or in person or through mail, however they do it, is a pain point for people.
Yeah.
They find it easier to purchase a chunk of tickets without the intention of going than giving that same amount as just a clean donation. And so it makes me think that there's a bottleneck,
disconnect. Yeah.
in your donation systems. So give that a look.
I think there's disconnect in some of our subscriptions systems too, our online ones too. I think just in general, the people that provide those services to the organizations, chop, like let's create a better experience for everybody. That's
and
probably
it might take speaking up from many orgs to go to these, I'll just say coders, I guess, these providers of services who might not be seeing exactly how ticket buying for small arts organizations functions.
Yeah, it's not just small. I'm going to say this is my soapbox, right? Like I talk all the time about all the people that you lose when you don't load quickly, when your load time online is slow. You lose so many ticket buyers, and so many of these software systems that arts organizations are using to sell subscriptions and single tickets. The load time is ridiculous. And the thought behind like how to buy a subscription when it doesn't even show you what part of the theater you're going to be sitting in, and the names don't match. There's a specialty name on one thing with the pricing, but that doesn't exist somewhere else. Like it is so frustrating as a potential subscriber and a potential ticket buyer, and people just give up. And I know some people will make the phone call and they'll call the box office, but I wouldn't. I know of several people that haven't done that because they just got frustrated. And unfortunately, a lot of times that frustration pushes back onto the arts organizations.
Yes,
They think
they don't know what the ticket system is.
Yes.
They're angry at the org that's selling them the ticket.
Yes. So that's my thing exactly what you said. People need to speak up and say, why is this happening and how come you haven't fixed it yet? Because we've been saying it for years. Some of the big guys, some of the biggest ticket providers for years do not have a good user experience. It drives me insane. Sorry.
And well, no, it's a great soapbox because I'm hopefully thinking a lot of people would sympathize with that, would understand that and have experienced that. And it's the user experience that you wish could be controlled by the org itself.
Yeah. Yes.
How strict this system is in setting up the flow of ticket buying, or how much control the org has to put their information, put their branding, put their own labels and all those things to keep it a seamless experience would be
beautiful. It would be a dream.
It would be a dream.
Achievable dream.
Right. I think one of the things I touched on earlier and didn't fully dive into, I went into the ad side of it, but from the social media, your page side of it, diversifying your content is just as important there, because whether it's an algorithm or a consumer behavior trend, I'm sure that they influence each other. Week to week, day to day, the top performing content is changing from vertical video to the length of those videos to whether it's a carousel or a static image. Those kind of things are changing constantly. And so get yourselves in the habit of creating all of those consistently. And then if we find out that carousels are performing the best this week, then you have a couple carousels to push out. Or everything's performing equally, you have everything to serve. And in case the week that you create content, carousels are performing well and all you create are carousels, the next week vertical video is performing the best and you have none of that prepared to push out.
Yeah.
It's just switching it all up.
Which again, yet another reason to plan ahead.
Yes.
It sounds backwards, right? It sounds like, how can you plan ahead when stuff is shifting so quickly? But it's actually the opposite, right? So the more you plan ahead, the more you'll be have the ability to create different types of content. And instead of a mad scramble to be like, oh no, this week it's reels, we better go record reels. Well, you have them batched, they're ready to go. You have photos batched and ready to go. You're writing a blog and it's ready to go. And it's not this frantic, here's what's working right now, we better run and make it, because you're diversifying content and you have it all available. So yeah.
And it shows adaptability to then say, okay, in this moment, there's that quick fire of, okay, carousels is performing the best right now. But then you go, oh, okay, you got a bunch of those ready.
Yeah. I'll just switch around my calendar a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else? Like, what's on your task list? Anything? How about I do mine first? So my thing is, we of course started that earlier as we talked about making sure you're ready for next year. I think one of the most important things to do before you start to get ready for next year is to look at your analytics for this year. As you come to the end of the year, I think it's a perfect time to just take an hour, take 2 hours and go out, hit your analytics, look for trends, look for things that aren't performing well, look for things that are, go into your social media insights. It doesn't have to be complicated. Check your ticket sales, what sold well, what does every day of the week look like so far in your season. Are Thursdays selling better than you thought they would? Are Saturdays not? Like, what is happening? To just kind of walk into the next year with some more ideas of what people are responding to. And I think that when you're in the churn, so we like to say the churn of all the running nonstop workload, sometimes looking at analytics and insights feels like it's not important. And I'd say that is probably so much more important when you're that busy, so that you make sure you're only focusing your time on stuff that matters. So that's what should be on everybody's task list over the next weeks. Yeah.
That transitions into mine. It gets me thinking about the idea that this is the perfect time as your season is starting to get rolling, and timeline wise, you should be starting to work on next season, starting to look at not getting stuck in, well, it's always been done this way, so let's just make it the same thing next year. This is the perfect time where you might be saying, well, we usually launch here, might be best for us to launch here. Or this order of shows, let's say for a theater company, musical versus play, they've always done it musical this month, play this month, a certain order. And maybe as you're looking at these analytics right now and you're starting to plan next season, you're starting to get the rights for shows, or you're starting to book people and you're setting up next season, you don't have to recreate last season. Start to figure out what changes you want to make long-term and how that's going to be possible for you. And
that's perfect lead into goal setting, right? Like, this is the time to set a goal, because all of this goes together. If you're looking at your analytics and seeing what's working, and then you're adjusting seasons based off of those analytics, then you can build measurable goals in there. And you're starting to get some strategy going, instead of just responding to everything.
And that's the planning ahead we're talking about too, is it's not just create the reel you want to post on Friday on Monday. We're big proponents of that.
Right.
But overarchingly, giving yourself the time to create these strategies ahead of time, as in now versus 10 months from now when you might be opening your next season.
Right.
Having those things thought through for the growth of the org and not just putting out the immediate fires.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we see that a lot of it's not anyone's fault. It's not that they don't want to do that. It's literally that they're too busy to stop and do it. And that's, we, say it's time like to halt everything and say, like, it's more important now to check to see if it's working before you start building a whole other season and everything on top
because
of
these jobs are really hard. Don't make it harder on yourself.
No, it's so hard. It is such a hard job. Yeah. Anything else that you can think of that's new this month or that is coming up next month that we haven't talked about? I mean, knowing, of course, you and I could talk all day about strategy and stuff like that, but
not pressing on the brain. I think we covered some big things.
Okay.
Big tasks that could take some time, but are very important.
Very important. So, all right. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below or shoot us an email and we will put it into upcoming sessions. So we'll see you here in December and thanks for watching.